The first signs of trouble came on a Tuesday morning in April. I was reviewing investment reports in my study when my sister Victoria called. Her voice dripped with artificial concern. "Emily, darling, I heard about the headaches. Are you seeing a specialist?" I paused, pen hovering over the financial statement I'd been annotating. "What headaches?" "Oh." Victoria's surprise sounded rehearsed. "Haven't you been experiencing terrible migraines? Everyone's worried sick. Mother mentioned you've been having dizzy spells too." This was news to me. At 34, I was in perfect health, running my late father's investment firm while raising my 8-year-old son, James. The only headache in my life was Victoria's constant interference. "I'm perfectly fine," I replied, keeping my voice neutral while making a mental note of this strange conversation. "Who's everyone?" "Just concerned family members. You know how rumors spread." She paused. "How's little James doing?" The way she said my son's name sent a chill down my spine. Victoria had always shown an unsettling interest in James. Ever since my husband Michael died in a climbing accident 3 years ago, she'd even offered to take him off my hands during the funeral. "James is wonderful. We're both wonderful. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a board meeting." After hanging up, I sat back in my leather chair, mind racing. This wasn't the first odd incident lately. Last week, my mother had insisted I looked peaky at Sunday dinner. The family doctor, who I hadn't scheduled an appointment with, supposedly called asking about my symptoms. Even my housekeeper mentioned overhearing concerns about my health from the country club ladies. Someone was laying groundwork, but for what? I opened my laptop and began documenting these occurrences, a habit I'd developed after Michael's death. Victoria had tried to contest his will then, claiming I was too unstable to manage his estate. She failed, but the experience taught me to keep careful records. The next red flag appeared 2 days later. My assistant Sandra rushed into my office, face pale. "Ms. Wilson, there's a Dr. Harrison here to see you. He says it's urgent." I didn't know any Dr. Harrison. "I don't have an appointment. He says your sister sent him. He's very insistent." The pieces clicked into place. I smiled. Sent him in. Dr. Theodore Harrison was exactly what I expected. Distinguished, silver-haired, carrying an air of authority that probably convinced most people not to question him. I noticed he carried a medical bag that looked straight out of a period drama. "Ms. Wilson, I'm deeply concerned about your condition." He sat without being invited. "Your family reports severe symptoms that could indicate—" "Who's paying you?" I interrupted. He blinked. "I beg your pardon?" "For this performance, Victoria? Or did my mother hire you?" I leaned forward. "Because I have to tell you, showing up uninvited at my office with a fake medical bag is bordering on criminal impersonation." Color drained from his face. "Ms. Wilson, I assure you." "Shall I call the medical board?" "I'm sure they'd be interested in a doctor who makes unsolicited office visits based on third-party reports." He stood quickly. Perhaps I was misinformed. "Good day, Ms. Wilson." After he left, I added this incident to my growing file. Victoria was planning something, but what? The answer arrived that evening when I returned home. James rushed to greet me, his dark curls bouncing. "Mom, Aunt Victoria brought me a new game." I froze. Aunt Victoria was here. My housekeeper Margaret appeared, wringing her hands. "I'm so sorry, Ms. Wilson. She said you knew she was coming. She spent an hour with James, took photos of his room, said she was planning a renovation surprise for you." My blood ran cold. Victoria had been in my house with my son, documenting his personal space. Combined with the health rumors and fake doctor, a picture was emerging. My sister wasn't just laying groundwork. She was building a case. I called my lawyer, Benjamin Gates, that night after James was asleep. "Someone's trying to have me declared incompetent," I said without preamble. Ben had defended me against Victoria's previous attempts to seize control of Michael's estate. He understood immediately. The sister again? She's spreading health rumors, sent a fake doctor to my office. Today she was photographing James's room. I took a deep breath. She's going to try for guardianship, isn't she? Of James and the estate. It fits her pattern. Do you have documentation? Everything. Dates, witnesses, recordings of conversations. Hood, forward it all. We'll file for a restraining order first thing. A crash from downstairs cut him off. Then James screamed. I dropped the phone and ran. The scene in our kitchen stopped my heart. James lay unconscious on the floor, a broken glass beside him. Margaret knelt nearby, checking his pulse. "He just collapsed," she cried. "I was getting his bedtime snack end." I never heard the rest. Something struck the back of my head, hard. As consciousness faded, I caught a glimpse of designer heels, Victoria's favorite Louboutins. "Sorry, sister dear." Her voice floated above me. "But you're just too sick to care for James anymore." Then darkness took me. I awoke to beeping machines and white walls. A hospital room. My head throbbed where I'd been struck. As awareness returned, panic set in. James. Where was James? I tried to sit up, but found my wrists restrained. A nurse rushed in. "Please calm down, Ms. Wilson. You're in good hands. My son is safe with his aunt. She's been granted temporary emergency guardianship given your condition." The pieces fell into place. Victoria had orchestrated everything. The health rumors, the fake doctor, the witnesses to my supposed instability. Now she had James. "I need to speak to my lawyer," I demanded. The nurse smiled sympathetically. "I'm afraid that's not possible in your current state. Doctor's orders. Now rest." Over the next days, I pieced together Victoria's plan through overheard conversations and glimpses of paperwork. I'd been admitted for acute psychotic episodes and paranoid delusions. Victoria, concerned about my deteriorating mental state, had installed cameras in my house, capturing my erratic behavior and neglect of James. The evidence was overwhelming. Every conversation I'd documented, every precaution I'd taken, now painted a picture of paranoia. I'd played right into her hands. But Victoria had made one crucial mistake. She assumed that once she had me committed, I'd be powerless. She forgot that I was my father's daughter too. On my 5th night in the hospital, a young orderly named Marcus brought my evening medication. Unlike the other staff, he looked me in the eye. "The blue pill is new," I said quietly. He nodded. "Started today." I smiled. I don't take medication without reviewing the literature first. Hospital policy allows me to refuse treatment. Marcus glanced at the door. "They'll force the issue." "They can try." I met his gaze. "How much does night shift pay here, Marcus?" He blinked. "Excuse me." "Because I can offer better." "Much better." 2 hours later, I was presumed dead from an allergic reaction to the new medication. Marcus, whose sister coincidentally worked in the morgue, helped facilitate my transfer to the funeral home. Victoria had taken my son, my company, my life. Now I would take everything from her, starting with my own funeral. I spent the next week in a safe house, monitoring Victoria's movements through the PI I'd hired. She worked fast, consolidating her control over my assets while playing the grieving sister. She moved James into her house immediately. The funeral was scheduled for Saturday at St. Michael's Cathedral. Victoria spared no expense, inviting hundreds of guests to witness her performance as the devoted sister tragically inheriting her unstable siblings' responsibilities. I watched the live security feed as guests arrived. Victoria held James's hand tightly, accepting condolences with practiced grace. My mother dabbed at dry eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief. Board members and business associates filed in, already courting Victoria's favor as the new head of Wilson Investments. The service began. Victoria approached the podium, champagne glass in hand for the final toast. Classic Victoria, turning a funeral into a celebration of her triumph. "My beloved sister Emily," she began, voice trembling perfectly. Though troubled in her final days, she would want us to celebrate life, to honor her memory by ensuring her son and her company are properly cared for. She raised her glass, to Emily, finally at peace, and to new beginnings. The massive cathedral doors creaked open. Sorry I'm late to my own funeral. My heels clicked against marble as I walked down the aisle. Victoria's champagne glass slipped from nerveless fingers, shattering at her feet. Gasps and screams erupted through the congregation. My mother fainted dead away, but I only had eyes for one person. "James," I called softly. "Come to Mommy." My son broke free from Victoria's grip and ran to me. I lifted him into my arms, breathing in his familiar scent. Victoria stood frozen, face ashen. "But you're dead." I saw the death certificate. The body. "You saw what you wanted to see," I smiled. "Just like I wanted you to." The doors opened again. Police officers filed in, led by Benjamin Gates. "Victoria Wilson," the lead detective announced. "You're under arrest for attempted murder, fraud, and conspiracy." As they led my sister away in handcuffs, I held James close. Victoria had forgotten the most important lesson our father taught us. Never underestimate someone with nothing left to lose. But my sister's arrest was just the beginning. The real war for Wilson Investments was about to begin. And this time, I wasn't playing defense. The media called it the funeral resurrection. Security footage of my entrance into St. Michael's Cathedral went viral within hours. Local news vans surrounded Wilson Tower, desperate for comments about the CEO who came back from the dead to expose her sister's plot. But I had more pressing concerns. "The formaldehyde smell won't leave my hair," I complained to Marcus, the orderly who'd helped fake my death. He now sat in my restored office, accepting a check that would ensure his sister in the morgue remained equally helpful if questioned. "Small price for justice," he replied, tucking the check away. Though I admit, watching Mrs. Victoria's face when you walked in, that was priceless. I smiled, remembering my sister's champagne glass shattering on the cathedral floor. How was she enjoying her accommodations? County jail's finest cell. No Louboutins allowed. Victoria had been denied bail, deemed a flight risk due to her substantial offshore accounts. Accounts I discovered and frozen just hours after my resurrection, using emergency powers as the reinstated CEO. A knock at my office door interrupted us. Benjamin Gates entered, looking pleased. "The board just finished their emergency session," my lawyer announced. "They've officially rescinded all changes made during your absence." "And the guardianship papers for James?" "Nullified." The judge was particularly interested in the forged medical records. Victoria's hired doctor rolled over completely, gave up everyone involved. I nodded, unsurprised. Dr. Harrison had seemed the type to save himself when cornered. What about Mother? Ben's expression darkened. That's more complicated. The police found evidence she was involved in planning your commitment, but proving criminal intent. I don't want her arrested. I stood, walking to the window overlooking Boston's financial district. I want her ruined. My mother, Elizabeth Wilson, had orchestrated family dynamics since I was a child. She'd always favored Victoria, the daughter who embraced her social climbing schemes. When my father died, leaving me in charge of Wilson Investments, Mother had seen it as a personal insult. Now she'd helped Victoria try to steal everything, including my son. The annual shareholders meeting is next week, I mused. Mother still holds 20% of company shares through her trust. Ben raised an eyebrow. Inherited from your father. Irrevocable. Nothing's irrevocable if you know where to look. I turned back to my desk, pulling up an encrypted file. Father left me more than the company. He left me insurance. The file contained years of documentation. Questionable property deals, tax evasion schemes, offshore accounts Mother had hidden from Father. He'd known about her financial infidelity, but kept the evidence private, protecting the family name. Release this, Ben warned, and the scandal won't just destroy your mother. It could damage Wilson Investments. Unless, I smiled, unless it comes out during an SEC investigation triggered by Victoria's crimes. Mother becomes collateral damage. The company appears transparent and cooperative. Ruthless. Ben shook his head admiringly. You really are Robert Wilson's daughter. Victoria and Mother forgot that. I closed the laptop. They won't make that mistake again. That evening, I took James for ice cream at our favorite shop near the Common. He'd been quiet since the funeral, processing the trauma of the past weeks. Did Aunt Victoria hurt you? He asked suddenly, chocolate dripping down his cone. I considered how to answer. James was mature for 8, but explaining attempted murder and false imprisonment seemed excessive. Aunt Victoria was confused about what's best for you, I said carefully. She thought she should be your mom instead of me, but she was wrong, and now she has to face consequences for her bad choices. He nodded solemnly. Is she going to jail? Yes, sweetheart, for a long time. Good. He licked his ice cream. She made me eat vegetables with every meal, even breakfast. I laughed, pulling him close. My brilliant boy, focusing on the culinary crimes. The next morning, the SEC investigation I'd orchestrated hit the news. Anonymous sources, carefully selected by Benjamin, revealed evidence of widespread financial misconduct within the Wilson family. Mother's hidden accounts were exposed, along with Victoria's attempts to seize control through fraudulent means. Wilson Investments stock dropped 15% in the first hour of trading. I called an emergency press conference on the steps of our headquarters. Cameras flashed as I approached the podium, James holding my hand. As CEO of Wilson Investments, I am shocked and saddened by these revelations. I began, my voice carrying clearly in the morning air. While I was targeted by those seeking to abuse their positions within the company, my commitment to transparency and ethical business practices remains absolute. I outlined my plan for corporate restructuring, enhanced oversight, and the establishment of a family foundation focused on mental health advocacy, a pointed reference to Victoria's tactics. By market close, our stock had rebounded. The business press praised my decisive leadership in crisis. Major clients privately assured me of their continued confidence. Mother wasn't so fortunate. The scandal destroyed her social standing. Her country club membership was quietly revoked. Charity boards asked her to step down. Former friends suddenly had scheduling conflicts when she called. I found her in the family mansion's conservatory, surrounded by dying orchids she'd neglected during the crisis. "Come to gloat?" she asked without looking up. "Come to give you a choice." I placed a document on the table beside her. "Sign over your shares to James's trust. Admit yourself to a private wellness facility in Switzerland for a year. And this ends. Fight me, and I release everything, including Father's personal journals about your affair with his brother." She finally met my eyes. "You really are going to destroy me. You tried to take my son." My voice was ice. "Be grateful destruction is all I'm offering." The charges against Victoria took months to process. She accepted a plea deal. 15 years for attempted murder, fraud, and conspiracy. No possibility of parole. I visited her once before she was transferred to federal prison. She'd lost weight, her designer clothes replaced by an orange jumpsuit, but her eyes still burned with familiar hatred. "Proud of yourself?" she spat. "You've ruined everything." "No, Victoria, you ruined everything. I just survived." She lunged forward, stopping when her handcuffs caught. "I deserved to run the company. Father knew you were weak," he told me. "Father told you what you wanted to hear. He knew you'd try something like this eventually." I stood to leave. "That's why he left me in charge." "I'll get out someday," she called after me. "And when I do, you'll what? Try to kill me again." I turned back. "That's the difference between us, Victoria. You keep trying the same failed tactics, while I learn from every attack. Come after me or James again, and prison will feel like a vacation resort." Mother spent 18 months in her Swiss retreat before returning to Boston. She sold the mansion, bought a modest condo in Back Bay, and learned to live without social influence. We saw her occasionally at holidays, but the relationship remained cold. James thrived, showing an early aptitude for business that made me suspect he'd run Wilson Investments someday. I hired Marcus as our head of security, rewarding his loyalty with a career path. The orderly's sister moved from the morgue to medical school, her tuition mysteriously paid by an anonymous donor. 2 years after my resurrection, I stood in my father's old office, my office now, studying his portrait above the fireplace. The artist had captured his knowing smile perfectly. "You were right, Dad," I said softly. "Always prepare for betrayal, especially from family. But make the punishment so complete, they never dare try again." A knock at the door interrupted my reflection. My assistant entered with quarterly reports showing record profits. Wilson Investments hadn't just survived the scandal. We'd emerged stronger. I signed the reports, my signature bold and clear. Emily Wilson, CEO. Victoria had tried to steal my life, my son, my company. Instead, she'd given me the opportunity to prove exactly why Father had chosen me as his successor. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just surviving, it's thriving in ways your enemies never imagined possible. As I looked out over the city, I now truly controlled. I smiled. Victoria rotted in prison. Mother lived in social exile. And I had everything they tried to take from me. Plus the one thing they never had, the absolute certainty that I'd earned it all. The sun set behind the Boston skyline, painting the city in shades of victory.